Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another in the latest series of Northwest Independent Writers Authors, the Northwest Independent Writers Association author interviews. Today, we are joined by Justin Davis, whose debut novel "Today I Ate a Biscuit" was released last month in March. So, can you tell us a bit about the novel to start with? What is going
So
on in
the
there? It's got some
the
interesting reviews.
the concept, so here's the actual novel itself. It's not terribly thick, but the
Mhm.
concept started. I've been doing short stories between 5 to 8,000 words, and I wanted to branch into writing full length novels, mostly because one of my short stories, I came up with some ideas to expand it into a 7 book epic fantasy series. But I've never done full length novel territory before. And I was worried that in the process of expanding the stories, I would run into like what I refer to as the Tolkien effect, where you go into a bit too much detail and not enough like actual action, things happening. And so I thought, like, what would be a great way to kind of play around with that and learn how to expand a concept without dragging? And like, what better way to do that than to take a concept that naturally resists expansion? And so I thought of the idea of doing just some boring, mundane event and expanding it as much as I could, usually thinking, maybe into like a novella like length or a novelette, and try and expand it without dragging. And so that was the concept. That's how the one started.
Okay. So this whole book is just the one. It's eating the biscuit and just describing everything that goes on
Right.
in that
So
process.
that was kind of the weird part, is that that's how it started. It was just kind of a an innocent concept, mostly a literary exercise than anything else. But within it, I ended up embedding a lot of like philosophy and like slice of life and meaning in the mundane, and in a way that's not reaching too far into didacticism, where it's not really trying to like tell the reader like a clear moral of the story type thing. Um, and that's kind of the interesting part about it, is it never oversteps that this is a story about eating a biscuit, the journey of this narrator eating a biscuit. And when that story was complete, that's where I came up with the idea to expand it into 3 parts. So instead of just having eating the biscuit, he completes the biscuit. It's not the greatest of biscuits. It's rather mediocre, but it's not bad. But then he's like, this is a biscuit of my own making. And so it's like, you know what? Let's go back to the making of. So that's where part 2 is. It's behind the biscuit.
Oh,
And so it kind of revisits the making of process. And then part 3 is making a second biscuit and kind of learning from his mistakes and all of that.
okay. Wow. That does sound like a actually a fascinating book in itself. So let's see. Okay, so I think you kind of went into the inspiration behind it. So you said you're working on a fantasy series now, a 7 8
Yes.
book.
And
So
that was the fun
okay.
part about this story, because this one, it I've encountered a lot of gatekeeping over the years. I was trying to write a book back in high school, but a lot of gatekeeping ended up just I lost the hobby for a while and just didn't do any writing for a while, and never really felt like I was ready. And this book proved that I'm more than ready. I've got the skills,
All right.
and now I feel confident to take those skills and apply it to my fantasy series. And so what I ended up doing is, right after I finished the Biscuit book, I took the notes that I had of not really an outline or plot, but the emotional through line for each book in the fantasy series. Like each thing I wanted to core thing I wanted to explore for that book, and then started with book 1 and kind of expanded the concept. And with being on summer break doing online schooling, I had a lot of time available. So within a few short weeks, I had cranked out about 116,000 words
Oh
for the
wow.
first book, because all of the ideas have been there for years now of what I wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And it was just like waiting for permission to actually start writing.
So you finished the first, or you've got at least a first draft. It sounds like in the first book.
Yeah, so once I
Or
finished
how
the
far are
first
you?
draft, I actually went and ordered from Lulu a private pre-publication print with just
Oh,
like a little minimalistic cover design, and was very surprised at how thick it turned out.
right.
And that kind of helps with like motivation and everything, because now I have a stack of the pre-publication books that I've done that I've finished and just need to do the final edits, but I can always like look at them and see what all I've managed to accomplish.
So you have the actual physical, yeah, manifestation. That's cool.
I'm a big fan of
Standard.
physical books.
Yeah. So do you have all seven of them there then? You said,
I have
or
the first
first
two.
one? Oh, okay.
So the first two are done,
Oh,
barring the final edits, of course.
right.
But the third book is almost done, and it's got about 9 chapters left, and it's currently looking like it's going to be about this thick.
Oh,
Book 3 is
getting
currently
bigger.
sitting at, it was like 250,000 words.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
That's gonna be definitely an
that's,
epic series.
yeah, this
So what is it? Is it like high fantasy swords and sorcery
so
or
this one's a
what?
little bit different. It doesn't follow the conventional fantasy norms in that there's no polarized good versus evil. There isn't the like ancient prophecy or chosen one or destiny child type thing. Instead, what happens is it's a world not much unlike our own, only where in this world the mythologies are real. They're just in locations that most people don't usually inhabit, so they're still viewed oftentimes as more myth and legend and folklore, but they are actually real. And so that's where I've kind of invented my own mythology. And then the series follows the story of a young explorer whose parents are both avid explorers and renowned explorers, and she wants to kind of grow up into that lifestyle and follow in their footprints. And so her and her mom actually get to go out on their first set of adventures, and
Wow.
that's where it kind of starts unraveling the mythology. And it starts off with like very like signs that this could be real, but it's all like right now just like reading carvings and ancient relics and stuff like that. And so even when she gets glimpses that this could actually be real, her mom is just like, no, it's folklore,
Oh,
and kind of tries to play it off, and not because she doesn't want her to like. She knows the reality of things, but she doesn't want her to experience that yet, and so she's kind of trying to give her the adventure without the danger.
oh. Wow. So it's a little. That sounds interesting, actually. Little Indiana Jones-ish, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of
Where you're
Indiana Jones
kind of
style
hunting
in
down
some
these ancient
areas. The
things.
biggest thing with it was that I decided to go with a fictional world with my own invented mythology, as opposed to taking real world mythology
Mhm.
and then asking the question like, what if this was actually a real thing? Because I felt like that is like done so much right now, like between Indiana
Right.
Jones and then like video games have done it a
Yeah.
lot, and there's so many movies and shows and stories that have done that. And I'd be working with a very limited set of real world mythology and what those mythologies represent. And instead, I was able to create my own. And
So the world it's set in is so is it is basically our contemporary world, or is it just one
yeah,
like ours but
it's a
different?
contemporary world set kind of
Okay.
more or less similar to like the 90s, early thousands time frame of our
Okay.
world.
But it's not like a real world setting somewhere. It's like not like
Right. Yeah, it's
Portland or
not a real
something.
world setting. It's in its own fantasy world.
Okay.
I just haven't actually mapped it out because for this
But
one, the purpose of the story, the map itself wasn't as important.
mhm. Okay. So that sounds really so okay. It's yeah, and you've got a few, I guess, not quite finals, but drafts, but you're getting there. Were you
Yeah.
planning on getting all 8 books out before you start editing them or finish or
No, actually,
you're
I'm in
gonna
the process. So I've got another standalone novel that I wrote after I
oh
finished the first 2 books of this one. And I'm finishing the editing of that one right now, so that'll be my next published book. Because in that way, I can use the Biscuit book to kind of learn the publishing pipeline and learn the workflow and the marketing, and then
mhm.
use my next standalone book to learn from what I've learned from the first book. that way, when I'm ready to launch Sophie's Wish, the first book of my fantasy series, that's my darling child, my flagship series. So that way, I want to be like, I know what I'm doing now in the publishing sphere.
Ah, okay. So what is this next one about?
So this next one is called
It's about to come
Ace
out.
of Spades, and it's a psychological neo-noir thriller based on another short story I had done a few years ago, and I kind of expanded the concept into a full-length novel. And it follows a retired detective who's initially opens up with him just by himself in his house, poring over these old case files for this Ace case, which was a serial killer that he was never able to catch, and spent like 20 years of his career chasing this case. And then, like, he gets called back into the fray when a copycat shows up that's mirroring like
Oh,
what Ace was doing. And the reason why he was known as Ace was because he would leave an Ace card with the victims. It was either an Ace of Diamonds or Clubs or Ace of Hearts, and each one was actually symbolic. It represented his reasonings for like going after that victim, and it was kind of a vigilante justice type figure. So this guy goes back into the fray. He's getting up there in age, but he goes back in to try and like help stop this copycat who's leaving queen cards, and so trying to figure out what's going on. And
okay. Wow. So let's see. You are a member of Niwa, as we mentioned before,
yep,
the Northwest Independent Writers Association, and you're relatively new to there, right? To the
yes.
organization. How long have you been a member?
I
Or
joined, I think it was just last month, I want to say, like just
oh,
towards the end of March, I
okay,
think
that's
it
very
was.
recent.
Yeah, so it was like
So
mid March, end of March.
okay. So how did you find out about it? And have you done like you like used any of the resources or done any of the events or anything yet?
I haven't done any of the events just yet, but I found out about it from I'm in the Columbia County Authors Alliance, both of the Scappoose Writing Group and St. Helens Writing Group out here in Columbia County, and a few of the writers are members of Niwa as well. Ellen Jacobson was the one that recommended me and said, "Hey,
Okay.
check out this group. You might be really interested in this." And I was taking a look at it, saw the member dues and everything, and was minimal. And then like the networking availability and like the events and everything was really awesome. I joined right before you guys had the meet and greet, but I was
Oh,
already going to be up in Bellingham, Washington, visiting relatives, so I
right.
wasn't able to make that.
No. Yeah, that was a fun event. But yeah. Well, thank you very much. So where else can people find you now? Do you have a website or social media?
Yes, I
Or
do have an official author website where I post news about upcoming titles and new releases and stuff like that. Eventually, I want to add a blog portion to it because then I can kind of do more interesting pieces like concepts of ideas I've come up with, and also be able to just write about like my writing journey, like getting into writing and then what I've learned in the publishing and everything and things like that.
okay. Right. Are you also on social media somewhere that people can
Not on
find
any
or
of the
not?
social media
No.
just yet.
Okay.
I'm not really big into social media, so it's kind of difficult.
Right. Yeah, well, and you mentioned earlier that you wrote a bunch of short stories as well. Are those
Yeah,
published somewhere that people can find?
two of them are actually published over on, I think it's called Booksy. Yeah, Booksy is the website. See, let me double check that that's the right site. Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
So over on booksy.com, I was publishing my short stories under under the pen name Zephyr Winkeldorf.
okay.
So that way I could keep it because it forced me to use a pen name. They wouldn't let me use my real name. And so I
Oh,
thought I'd come up with a silly pen name so that I could like experiment with the short stories and see where it goes. And both the original Sophie's Wish short story and the Ace of Spades one are up on there.
excellent.
So
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Let's see. Before we go in, did you have anything else you wanted to add or any questions
I
or
find
anything?
myself never running out of ideas. I mentioned I'm in the middle of finishing up the third book of my flagship fantasy series, Sophie's Journey. But I've also got about, I think, 30,000 words into the first book of a fantasy trilogy idea that I had. I've got a few thousand words, about 6,000 words into a new absurd mock epic comedy adventure. And I've also got the first couple chapters done of a unique concept in that it's a reversible novel. So each page is read normally, top to bottom, left to right, but you read the pages in forward direction and it tells one story. Read it in reverse and it changes the order and the sequence of events. And changing the sequence changes the context, which changes the emotions and the story.
Wow.
So that one's been really fun to work on, and it's coming along nicely.
Sounds like a challenge too.
It's The Distance Between Us, a story about finding love. But on the reverse, it's The Distance Between Us, a story about losing love.
Well, very cool, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that's Thank you.